Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Comic Book Gamer, and welcome to this episode of Cosmic Conversations. This episode was made possible by Ardently Tech. That's our other channel that Adrienne and I have where we talk about tech, and we talk about tech that helps improve your life. So if you have any interest in that, be sure to subscribe because we do lots of videos there and we have a blast. So, Adrienne, thanks for joining me for this conversation. Full spoiler warning for Loki season 2. How you doing, man?
Dude, I'm still recovering from that episode.
That was pretty wild.
I can't get Tom Hiddleston's face out of my every time I close my eyes, I just see him. I don't know what to do about it.
I know, right? Oh yeah.
I can't wait to go to therapy with this.
Oh yeah. Before we get into just our thoughts on Loki season 2, we might even do like a really quick just kind of, recap of what season 2 was, and definitely talking about the ending. But before we get into that, Adrienne, do you have any MCU hot takes that you'd like to share?
I think phase 4, is this phase 4 that was a post Endgame?
We're in phase 5 right now.
Yeah, so phase 4 was like after Endgame, and then phase 5 is like after Ant-Man, right?
Yeah.
I think phase 4 had more bangers than people would like to admit.
That's a hot take. I mean, there's definitely some unique things that they did in it, and definitely some things that I can appreciate in the sense of they were throwing a lot of things at the wall to see what would stick. And while there are definitely some things that I didn't enjoy that they tried to throw at the wall, I do enjoy overall that they tried a lot of different things, that they weren't just kind of sticking to their main formula. So I would agree with that in concept. Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, some of my top 10, some of my recent top 10 have been from phase 4, like Spider-Man 2, 3, Far From Home, No Way Home. That's up there. Shang-Chi. But I'm Asian, so maybe that's just a little bias. But then we also have Moon Knight and Loki season 1 and WandaVision. So there was just banger after banger, but people keep saying it's dead. I understand where the visceral comes from and the hate comes from and the criticism. I mean, it's warranted.
Yeah.
But
when you do a lot more stuff, you open yourself up to a lot more, criticism or praise, so yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah. I even really liked Miss Marvel. Iman Vellani in general, because she was a fan first. I mean, it was her first acting gig, and she killed it. And she was a fan of Marvel. So like she knows where she is in the timeline. She's like one of us.
Yeah.
Now in the freaking MCU. I mean, like that's gangster.
Basically, yeah. 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 I mean, yeah, I think she was a really good casting for Kamala Khan, and she really embodies that kind of just that fan vibe, all the way through.
Teenage energy, man. I mean, she is a teenager, but I don't know, maybe she's like a little bit older now, but she's a great fit. I'm excited to have her in there.
Definitely.
But that's my somewhat hot take. I don't know. I feel like people, if they really look at it, there is a lot of good stuff and people might admit it, but just a lot of MCU hate going on. I understand, like I said, but
yeah, for sure.
It's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and I think for myself, Doctor Strange 2 wasn't as bad as so many people make it out to be. But I think the biggest thing that helped me appreciate it a bit more than some of the other people is that I didn't watch any trailers. Like I just, I barely even looked at a poster. I just knew I wanted to watch this movie, so I'm going to watch it. I don't really need to watch any trailers. So obviously not everyone can do that.
Did you listen to any spoilers either? Because that's what spoiled it for me. But
no, I went in completely blind.
That's amazing. That's great.
Yeah, all that I knew was that it was Doctor Strange and Wanda, Scarlet Witch, being together in a movie, and I was like, oh, this is like a perfect match.
Yeah.
Like why didn't they do this before? Even though obviously it would have made sense, for them to work together. But but yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. It definitely wasn't perfect, but I appreciated it a lot more than a lot of people did.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just like the expectations were so high for it.
Yeah.
because of the rumors, the leaks, and all these things of people, these actors from the Fox universe, um, and then especially after No Way Home,
Hmm.
um, having Toby and Andrew come to the MCU
Hmm.
through the multiverse was just like it's fueling the fire for it. So I think it was just like the perfect storm when
Yeah.
it came to like expectation to like
Yeah.
you know
Oh
its
yeah.
own downfall. But if you went in there completely blind, which I know a few other people who did, really enjoyed the movie. So
Yeah.
yeah.
For sure. Yeah. So, Loki,
Yeah.
season 2, uh, wild ride to say the
Mm-hmm.
least.
Yep.
Um, let's just do a
Yep.
really quick kind of recap.
For sure.
And obviously, again, spoiler warning for the whole season, obviously the ending.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we really enjoyed it, but yeah, quick recap, like super quick, basically just picks up right where season 1 leaves off.
Mm-hmm.
And, Loki's basically trying to warn the TVA of essentially Kang,
Yeah.
which the funniest thing, even in the last episode, it's like the MCU is like kind of scared of saying Kang. It's like it's
Right.
he who
Right.
remains, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, I can kind of get it from like a realism standpoint. It's
Yeah.
Kang's
I guess
not
in
like a normal
Quantumania is
name.
the only place they called him king, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was, yeah. But
Yeah. It's so funny.
yeah, just yeah, I mean it's not a usual name, but like yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's just funny. But yeah, so he's basically trying to warn the TVA, and then he starts slipping through time. So he's,
Mm-hmm.
popping in and out of places, popping in and out different time periods and things like that. And basically he then finds that the temporal loom that's basically holding together the sacred timeline and
Yep.
all the different branching realities
Mm-hmm.
is essentially failing, is breaking. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of the main plot for the whole season, which
Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed. That the whole season felt really cohesive in the sense
Yeah.
of, it's easy to get kind of lost in all the time stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
if you really think about it, it's a very straightforward season.
Mm-hmm.
There's this device, the temporal loom, that's breaking. All
Mm-hmm.
the realities, that it's trying to contain are starting to break apart. And if that loom breaks, then that's essentially the end of all reality, since
Yeah.
it's holding everything together.
Yeah.
And so the whole season is them trying to figure out how to fix it, and which leads them to finding a good variant of Kang,
Mm-hmm.
Victor Timely, brings him to the TVA.
Mm-hmm.
They do everything they can with him, and he immediately dies,
Yeah.
which like
How many times has Jonathan Majors died in the MCU so far? And it looks like 4-0 or something like that.
yeah, literally every appearance of Jonathan Majors as Kang, well, minus the Council of Kangs, but
Right. Right.
literally every appearance he's died. So um
Which I think that's supposed to prime us for like a lot of his deaths, and then to
yeah,
like there's a Kang Prime in the comics, um, that is
yeah.
like the ultimate Kang, um, or the Kang that sits above them all. I don't know. I
Hmm.
guess it's supposed to be He Who Remains in that sense, but I don't know. I think it's
Yeah.
just priming us for like there's gonna be like someone who's a lot stronger and a lot more heavier duty,
Hmm.
than
Hmm.
what we've seen so far, which is
Hmm.
ominous because I mean, we've seen like I think in Quantumania, you see like how let me let me we see how his potential, but was like kind of like nerfed by
Yep.
ants, which was really
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah.
But we see his potential of how powerful he could be, or
Yeah.
how menacing he could be.
Dude, really quick funny story about that.
Mhm,
Lately in MCU movies, this happened in No Way Home, and it happened again in Quantumania, in like
mhm.
the ending there.
Yeah.
Um, I think it was in Quantumania, it was during when Ant-Man and Kang were fighting. Both times my Apple Watch went off saying that I have a very high heart rate. Like this has never happened in movies, but for whatever reason, some of these movies have been like really
Really
getting to my
stressing
heart
you
rate.
out.
Yeah. Oh man. And like I'm sitting there, like I feel fine, but like
Yeah,
apparently
yeah.
my heart is racing. So
Yeah, yeah. That was me during like the NBA finals last year, or Eastern Conference finals with the Miami Heat.
yeah.
And that I like checked my heart rate. It was like 150. What? I'm sitting down.
Yeah, that's wild. Getting old is crazy.
Yeah, well, get that
But
checked.
but yeah, so yeah, they basically, Victor Timely dies, and then this basically leads Loki on a quest to figure out how to fix this. What's the
Yeah,
solution? Eventually he figures out the time skipping, how to control it,
yeah.
and essentially spends a very, very long time figuring out
Centuries.
how to fix this, and what are the other options. Just when he thinks he's got it, it's still destined to fail. So
Mm-hmm.
basically he's basically left with two choices when he comes back to meet with He Who Remains. Um and he's like, you know what, I'm going to come up with a third option.
Yeah,
And essentially the ending is he basically decides to, in essence, become the temporal loom himself.
yeah.
And he destroys the loom, is literally holding the entire multiverse on his back,
Mm-hmm.
which is like
Literally,
crazy to think of.
figuratively, the series, but like literally in
Literally, like
in the
literally, like which is wild. And and then he lives up. So yeah, so basically, let me just wrap up the recap here. He basically sits on a throne at the end of time, holding the entire multiverse, all the branches together, literally breathing life into the multiverse himself,
Mhm.
in the shape of, I'm gonna mispronounce it, but Yggdrasil,
Mhm.
the
That's pretty good.
tree of
Yeah.
tree of life.
Yep.
And Yeah, I mean that's essentially it. He's literally just stuck there at the end of time,
Yeah.
holding everything together,
Yeah.
doing literally he went from being the selfish person that he was
Mm-hmm.
to, like, there is no way anyone else can take this title. He is
Mm-hmm.
now the most selfless person in the entire multiverse. Like,
Yeah.
just he gave up everything that he wanted to do
Yeah.
and is literally sitting there at the end of time doing
Right.
all of this for everyone else. So
Right.
yeah, that's basically the recap. So
Yeah.
um thoughts on the season.
It's it is such a heartbreaking ending, but such a like beautiful ending at the same time, in the sense that like, a couple I think it was like episode 5, he's with Sylvie at that bar and he's like, what do you
Yeah.
want? Like, and he said, I just want my friends, like
Yeah.
the end of what his want is to not be alone and to have his friends back.
Yeah.
And so that's how he's able to control his, time slipping in a way,
Hmm.
is to concentrate on the people of whom, right? And so for him to like do all this work, go centuries of learning to kind of figure out how he can find a happy ending for himself
Right.
with his friends, to eventually just not like have to like sacrifice that to be
Hmm.
alone. Oh, it's so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
like the final shot of his face, like that's the shot that I keep on seeing every time I close my eyes, I promise you.
Yeah. Yeah, with
um
the green behind him. Yeah.
yeah, it's just such a it's a beautiful moment, because you I think it's supposed to illustrate that, yeah, he hears everything that's going on, and he hears Mobius say, I'm just gonna sit here and let time pass by. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
just that little like, like, I hear you, I'm still with you, but like, I'm sorry I can't be there physically with you.
Right.
um so like as painful as it is for him to be there alone, getting exactly what he wanted, like in the beginning, like his glorious purpose, but in a different way than he expected.
Yeah.
um you just see the pain too, like it's just such a beautiful,
Yeah.
like, there's like the pain, and you see the pain and you see like the happiness, like, yes, this is what I wanted to do, what I
Right.
wanted to do for you all. And it's just like such a self-sacrificial
Yeah.
play. It's just
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, that just
Yeah.
like was so heartbreaking. I just like sat there after I watched it. I was just like, damn.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it brings a way deeper meaning to when he's always saying, burden with glorious purpose. It's At
Mhm.
this point, it's like much more burden than glory,
Right.
because like,
That's what Mobius said, bro. That line, put it on a
yeah,
shirt, sell it to me.
yeah, straight up take my money. Yeah. Oh, Yeah, it's yeah, this and I did a video on this, but like it's just crazy how good this show is
Hmm.
because there's been some inconsistencies with like the quality of, some of the shows and some of
Yeah,
the movies, just overall,
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
the projects and everything. But
Hmm.
like this show, both seasons one and two have just been like on fire, like firing on
Yeah,
all cylinders. Like it's
yeah.
just, like the level of quality and just like, I mean, like I said earlier, like the cohesiveness of the plot from start to finish,
Hmm.
like is just astounding. Like it's easy to get, like I said, it's easy to get lost with like the time slipping and like, okay, but
Hmm.
is this Loki? Like I kind of got confused at one point. I think it was episode four when he pruned himself, his earlier self,
Oh yeah,
and I
yeah.
was like,
It all makes sense later.
yeah. Like like at first, like I had to remind myself, like I knew that it was calling back to the first episode of the season, but then
Hmm.
I was like, wait, but when did the Loki switch? Or like when did like not switch, but like, what where am I getting confused?
Yeah, yeah.
But then
I
like I thought about it and
Yeah, what
it's
happened there?
it's it's very yeah, it's like very, very straightforward. Like it's literally just the Loki from the first episode just progressing through time, but then because of the
Hmm.
time slipping is yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it kind of answers like when you think about it, it answers it, but then when you think about the season as a whole, some of that stuff kind of just fades away because it's a very straightforward season.
Yeah.
Like as confusing as that kind of sounds with the time slipping, it's a very straightforward season, and
Hmm.
I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like yeah, I mean the fact that the villain of the first Avengers movie is now
Hero.
the is now like the most heroic hero
Hmm.
and also the most like insanely overpowered person in the entire MCU. I mean, like
Yeah.
he can literally just kill an entire universe by
Outside of
letting
Gaia.
go.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah. But like by just letting go of one of the branches. Like all he
Yeah.
has to do is let go of something and billions upon trillions of people die. Like
Right.
it's wild to think
Yeah.
about.
I,
But
I in the similar note of you what you were saying earlier, just like how there's been inconsistencies. It
mhm,
just blows my mind that this same studio that put out this level of writing, this level of graphics, like CGI, it's like flawless. Like nobody, like I have
yeah,
no complaints about or nitpicks, even
right.
about the CGI in this like uh series, first season or second season.
Hmm.
Like the CGI was just brilliant. So like the same studio that had brought this level of writing and creativity and storytelling and CGI work also gave us some of the crappiest stuff
Yeah,
we've seen. Not the crappiest, but like some pretty bad moments of
yeah.
CGI and some pretty it's not necessarily flash, like but
Hmm.
some decently bad stuff, or some bad story writing, and I know like there's obviously individual writers who are hired on for certain projects and directors and but like it's still under Kevin Feige, like
Hmm.
Kevin Feige's name is stamped at the end of
Yeah,
every Marvel series, so he has to have some level of approval, like of like yes, this is good, yes, this is bad, and I'm sure he's giving people a little bit of free reign to kind of tell these stories and let it go wild, and it's shown some success, but like I think I mean I know they're making changes now to like make sure their quality is for like in the forefront of it all,
yeah, yeah.
which I'm happy to hear. Sad at some points because that means like some of the things that we want to see more of might not happen till a little bit later.
Hmm.
Um, but in sense, I'm okay with that if it's going to actually make a change in what we see and make shows or movies like what we just saw, you know.
Yeah,
Oh, thumbs up. My bad. Like, yeah, if we get to see shows like that or movies like that level of quality, then I think that's a price I'm willing to pay, seeing
right.
less for more.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
would also love to see more team ups. Like, this is something that I think is more general MCU, but like, um, I think the thing that burdens the MCU after Endgame and all these team ups. Like it's always the question, like why aren't you teaming up with so and so or so and so?
Right.
Like Secret Invasion,
Logistically
why
at
aren't
this
you
point.
just like having somebody help? It's like, oh, some battles are
Yeah.
fought alone. I'm like, bro, Nick, get fucking Falcon out here. Like get Cap. Sorry, not Falcon. Get Cap out here. Like
Yeah,
help you
yeah.
whip some booty. I don't know. It was just like it just didn't seem like it makes enough sense for me for some points that there should be at least a couple people who team up. You know,
Yeah.
like why was it in like Ant-Man? I mean, I get it, they're in the quantum realm, but like why wasn't Shang-Chi like reference? They're in San Francisco too, like, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. It's just like there's things like that where just like it starts to when you have all these toys in your box, you're not using them, it feels like why are you limiting yourself? You know,
Right.
I get it, there's money involved, but like I mean, that's the burden, you know. So, but
Yeah.
in the same sense, Loki showed that you can take a cast of people we don't care about and surround them with one pet character we do care about
Hmm.
and make a great script.
Yeah.
And in some cases, we haven't gotten that, you know,
Yeah.
with some of our follow up characters or follow up movies from our favorite characters, you know,
Hmm.
Ant-Man and the Wasp in particular, um, like not yeah, Quantum Mania, not just Ant-Man and the Wasp. Like I think most of the cast was there, but Michelle Pfeiffer drives me crazy. Golly, Michelle
Yeah.
Pfeiffer and what's her name? Cassie drives me
Oh,
crazy.
yeah.
Gosh, sorry, not to, but in any case,
Uh,
like what's another thing that Loki did so well was take this band of characters, give us Owen Wilson, someone we know,
mhm.
um, but then we show us characters we don't know, like B-15 and Casey,
Yeah.
um, and this Sylvie who was like also Sylvie was kind of nerfed this season, I have to say.
Hmm.
She was like
Yeah,
such
she
an
was.
annoying character this season. First season one, amazing story, like amazing
Yeah.
story behind her character. Season two is just like
I honestly don't know why she came back to the TVA.
right.
Like,
Besides caring, maybe like caring for Loki. I don't know.
yeah. Yeah, but like even then I don't know, like she didn't really show any
Why do
like
you suddenly care that
emotion.
he's about to sacrifice himself? That was for me like
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
It did throw me off a little bit too.
Yeah.
Um, that said, I do really love see Loki season two. Like Loki season two shows like what Marvel has the potential for
Hmm.
still and what they need to like be able to do with their solo projects if they're going to continue doing these kind of projects that aren't team ups with like heroes, you know.
Yeah.
Um, that's just my opinion there.
What do you think is going to be what do you think is the next step? What do you think, how do you think this is going to affect the MCU moving forward, or where if you do you think that we're ever going to see Loki again? If so, how are we going to see him?
Well, one theory I recently heard in one of the videos post Loki. Um yeah, I would be happy if he never shows up again, but I'd also love if he's the Nick Fury of sorts that gathers a multiversal Avenger team to beat
Hmm.
for Kang Dynasty or
Hmm.
whatever Avenger movie we have coming out.
Hmm.
Like that's in this multiversal saga. It would be like he has eyes on all of them. He will know them the best. It would only make sense that he's the one who assembles them. I don't know how he's gonna do that if he's like holding them together. I don't know if he like learns to like well he knows how to conjure his essence in multiple
Yeah.
forms, right? So I mean we
Hmm.
know that. Oh, also that scene in episode two, was it? Where he's like beating up that one guy,
Oh
Hunter
yeah. Yeah.
on X5. Oh,
Like in the like when his horns appeared in the
shadows,
shadow. Yeah.
everything. That scene was I can't like get over. I haven't gotten over that scene either. I just remembered it.
Yeah.
But that was a great one too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I hope that he does come back, but I'd also be happy if he doesn't. You know, because
Yeah.
his character development. I was hesitant going into Loki season one because we lost. It's not the same Loki, you know.
Right.
But the way they caught him up to the same kind of character arc, or having that same, you know, inner
Yeah, I think
goodness, nailed it.
they nailed it, and they improved on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel a lot more connection to this Loki than I did with the original one.
Yeah,
And like the
yeah,
original one, like he was certainly fine, but like I feel like he would have I feel like he would have, even though obviously he did have a heroic death.
Hmm.
Um, I think he like even if he like escaped somehow and like lived longer, like I feel like he still would have had a heroic end to it for sure.
Hmm.
But this Loki like just, I mean, I don't know if it's just like the TV show format, so we just spent a lot more time with him, or
Yeah, sure.
which if you think about it, in this show, we spent more time in this show with this Loki than we did with the original
That's
Loki
true.
in the
That's
movies.
facts. That's facts.
So yeah, so
Because it's
I
like
think
1 hour, maybe 2 hour long movies, but we only spend maybe 30 minutes with that character each time.
yeah,
And
exactly.
half of the time he's being bad, So,
Yeah.
um, no, I 100% agree. Like a question I asked myself is like, do you think? Like, I want to ask you this: do
Mm.
you think the Loki from our original timeline would have done the same thing that this Loki did?
I no, I don't think so
Yeah, same.
because I think it was I think it was because that Loki died that when this other Loki saw that
Hmm.
and knew that he was the same person
Hmm.
and ultimately saw what his actions would lead him to,
Hmm.
I think that was the catalyst for him to realize, okay, I have to do something different. Whereas the
Hmm.
original Loki, he was certainly on his path to doing good,
Hmm.
but I don't think he would have been as good because he wouldn't have seen something so personal
Hmm.
to him, which is literally him dying,
Yeah.
and seeing, the relationship. Because like I feel like with the Loki we have now,
Hmm.
he still had love for Thor, even though the
Oh
Loki
yeah.
that we have now was literally ripped from the end of Avengers,
Hmm.
the Battle of New York. But like even in the Battle of New York, like he still like loved
Yeah.
Thor.
You spent
Um,
100 growing up with him, So like that's
yeah,
at the end of the day, that's your brother, no matter how much you get in each other's nerves,
exactly. Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
So yeah, I think that um yeah, just short answer. Yeah, I think that I don't think that he would have been able to do the same thing. I think it was, as silly as it was, which I laughed in the first episode of the first season that, okay, they're literally going to do like a montage, just to
Yeah,
like
yeah,
get us back to that same spot with the original Loki.
yeah, yeah,
And they literally did that. And I
yeah.
was like, okay, that's a really cheap way of doing it. But I feel like because they did that, that's what then was able to propel him to be leaps
Hmm.
and bounds further of a good guy
Yeah,
than the original Loki.
yeah, yeah. And I 100% agree. I thought that would have been the same thing. That was my same answer.
Hmm.
And what came to my thoughts like, well, well, it because in my head it's like, oh, it's still Loki. I mean, like that's still his heart. It's still going to be like it still gets softened, if you kind of give him the same spiel, maybe. But
Hmm.
then you think about it, like, what's her name? Sylvie is a Loki too, and
Right.
that, I mean, very clearly, different variant, different heart.
Yeah.
Like the President Loki in the what is it called?
Oh, yeah, I don't remember, but
Place where you get when you get pruned,
yeah,
like same Loki looking Loki, but not same heart, like
yeah.
by any means. So not every Loki has the same like desires and wants and I think ability to change.
Hmm.
Um though I have like he'll get close, but it'd be harder. Like I think he'd be close, it'd just be harder
Yeah.
to get him to do that. So that's
I f-
kind of where I was thinking.
I feel like I just thought of this. I feel like the original Loki would have done every single thing that this Loki did up
Hmm.
until he was faced with the two options. And
Hmm.
instead of coming up with the third option, I
He
think
would have killed it.
he would have killed Sylvie.
Yeah. That's a great point. That's a
Yeah.
great point. Yeah, I think so too. That
I
makes
feel like
sense.
I think that's the difference between that Loki and this one. That
Yeah.
just, he would have just,
Would have just done it. Just would have,
yeah.
mercilessly killed Sylvie,
Yeah.
despite whatever thing. Yeah. 100% agree. That's a great take.
Yeah.
That's a great take. I also
Yeah.
think that if in Infinity War, if Thor had been the one that got killed by Thanos there, I think Loki would have become um like a crazy powerful Loki and
Hmm.
maybe even be able to carry Mjolnir. Like
Hmm.
like that was a take that I had. Like, oh, if that role were reversed, I think this Loki would have like snapped for the good, like in a good way, like
Hmm.
and became the hero that he wanted to be, or I guess
Yeah,
wanted to be worthy.
I can see
Um,
that in another in the multiverse. There's
bro,
probably that exact scenario.
give me a what if on that,
Yeah,
please, because
yeah,
that'd be fire.
yeah.
Like, although
Mm.
Tom Hiddleston said it's the end of my 14 year end of 14 years of my life in an interview.
Hmm.
I think with Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel about Loki.
Yeah,
So it's like it sounds like he's done with the role, but
yeah. I don't know. I take it with a grain of salt because Tom Holland's like quit like 3 times. So
it's true. Yo, Tom Holland quits. I'm gonna cry.
yeah,
I
yeah,
love my Tom H's, man. I was just telling Sarah this. I love Tom Hiddleston. I
yeah.
love Tom Holland. They're both really great actors, but Hiddleston in this one,
Hmm.
like you, because he's a Shakespearean actor, and those
Hmm.
people can really monologue well,
Yeah.
and really carry the weight of their emotions, um, with their words. Like make you feel their emotions through the words that they're saying, and just a subtle look. And I think, I forget what point he really like gave me the chills. He gave me the chills like a few times. I think even when he's talking to He Who Remains,
Hmm.
dang with his thumb, like He Who Remains, and he says, "What makes you think that I can't pause time?" And he pauses it,
Yeah.
like, bro, like
Yeah.
that was fire, man.
How many times do you think we've had, or do you think this is the first time we've had this
Yeah.
conversation?
What
Like,
makes you think
yeah,
this is the first time we had this conversation? It's
yeah,
like,
that gave me
and he like,
chills.
it's like, oh, you can't tell me you haven't passed, you haven't learned how to pause time yet.
Yeah.
Like, oh my
No, yeah, and
gosh.
then and like his like I forget how he said it, but he was like, "You haven't learned how to pause time yet."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I mean,
I love his acting in that scene.
yeah,
That was so good.
both of them are sets. They played so well together. It's sad to think that they might not ever share a screen again. Like,
Right. Yeah.
that makes me sad because I feel like they're both great actors.
Yeah, for sure.
Great performers overall.
Yeah.
So, that sucks. I really hope he
Yeah.
comes back. I really hope he does.
Yeah.
But the story again, if the story ends this way, I'm happy because he definitely um gave it his all, and you can
Hmm.
tell. I mean, just the look he gave before he turns out onto that bridge
Hmm.
to looking at Sylvie and Mobius. Um, in the last look that he gave, it's just like,
Yeah.
it's just the same look that I got, like the feeling I got when I got the look from, what's his name, from Shang-Chi's dad before he
Yeah.
passes. There's like looks in the MCU that just like kind of give you the chills.
Yeah.
Those were two back to back looks, like
Yeah.
in the same episode.
Mm.
To give you chills. So acting is 100%. Again, if it ends that way, I'm happy, but I love to see a story
Yeah.
go forward. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think I'm more on the side of I hope that it ends there. If anything, I hope that he just has like a small, quick reunion with Thor, like maybe just appears before Thor or something like that.
Yeah.
Like maybe it's like centuries later or something like that, and like Thor is like, you know, I can't even remember like the name, but like he's just like this all powerful, like basically Odin type,
Yeah.
person ruling Asgard and stuff like that, or ruling something else, whatever. But
Hmm.
maybe they're like both at their like peaks, and Loki just appears, like just
Hmm.
and the sun will shine on us again, or something like
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Like, oh yeah, I feel
Just
like
even
that'd
for
be
a
good.
brief moment, man. I just
Yeah.
hope, like, I want him to go to a timeline where it's Fat Thor and he's like sulking. He
Hmm.
comes back,
Yeah.
and just watch the sunset together, play some Fortnite. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wish they had showed him like reuniting, because like I don't think they're gonna do season three. It was designed to be, apparently, according to the
Mhm.
writers, it was designed to be a part one, part two, and that's it. Um,
I
but
feel
it would
like
have been beautiful to see him reunite with Thor and Frigga, his
yeah,
mom. I
yeah,
just
for
would have
sure.
wished to see that, post conversion Loki. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. It just would have been nice. Just kind of
Yeah.
like how Thor got that moment with Frigga in Endgame. Like it would have been that would have been clutch.
Yeah, would have been sweet. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think that's gonna wrap up our thoughts for Loki season two. Anything
Yeah.
else before we wrap up?
No, let us know what your biggest takeaways from the season.
Yeah. Yeah,
Share them in the comments.
let us know down below and make sure to like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care, everyone.